Hey folks, welcome to Dusty Tracks, BC again. I'm Mike, and I'm sitting here with Dempsey Bob. Yeah, really, I don't think my face portrays it, but big big grin and mind blown. Thanks for sitting down with us today. Thanks for inviting us to your shop.
Thank you.
Yeah. For those of us that are maybe new to art, there might be a few of us out there. Would you tell us what you do?
Well, I started carving about 1969, and I started with a lady named Frida Deasing. She was Haida, and I was really lucky because I was ready to learn, and Frida was the only teacher we had, and we almost lost our art form. And at that time, it was starting again, and I was lucky to get in on it and do it. And I feel really fortunate now, like I listen to my grandparents and the stories and the history. And like art, you have to keep learning. And that's what I realized in using what you learn too. Because like carving a sculpture like this, you got to know a lot of things, tools, forms, drawing. You know, when I started with Frida, I didn't want to draw. I just wanted to carve because I loved carving. And how I started carving was when I was a kid. We used to make our own toys. You know, we made our own toys, and because we didn't have money, but we had food, but we didn't have money. So we carved our own toys, and we made slingshots and bow and arrows and canoes, and we made all kinds of things like darts, and we'd look at the catalog and see an old gun in there, and we'd draw it out and draw it on wood and carve it with just a pocket knife. And then when I started carving with Frida, I had that really good feeling of working with the wood again, and I knew that's what I want to do. And I was lucky because most people never find out what they really want to do in their whole life, you know. And I was lucky, and then I was serious, and then I continued, and I was lucky that I think about it now, like, what if I didn't meet her? You know, what would have I done, you know, because I was working on the pipeline and making a lot of money, and, well, probably would have been dead by now. But I was lucky that I was ready and I did it. What I realized, too, is that, you know, my family, my grandparents, they supported me, and, you know, my mom. And they chose me, and they told me stories. They told me our stories, the wolf stories, raven stories. And taught me about the culture, and I was lucky. Lucky I learned from them. And I've continued. And the best thing I did was, you know, give it back to our people. You know, and that's how I did my homework. Because like a true artist, you have to do your homework. If you don't do your homework, which means learning how to draw, learning how to sculpt, learning about tools, learning how to sharpen them, learning how to use them, learning about forms, learning about designs, learning about painting, it's forever. It's endless. And I was lucky, like as an artist, when I started, I didn't say I was going to be an artist. I sort of fell into it, but after you go so far, you can't go back. You can't go back. And so I was lucky, though, that I stuck to it, too, because I wanted to quit sometimes. You know, I wanted to quit and do something else because I got frustrated, couldn't get anywhere. But I was lucky now that I stuck to it. You know, I was stubborn, too, and that's how I did it. And I worked hard, too, worked hard.
It definitely shows, and I think, you know, I think there's a whole lot of people out there that are glad that you didn't give up. Glad that you chose, you know, a different trail instead of working on a project around town or something, and yeah, kept drawing and kept feeding that fire of I gotta do something different.
Yes, like when I started, like there was very few teachers,
Mm-hmm.
and then Frida told me about Hazelton, so I went to the Gittimack School of Northwest Coast Art in Hazelton,
Right.
and I
Yeah.
met some good artists there, like Earl Muldoe and Walter Harris and Kenny Mowat and Vernon Stevens, and they were my teachers, and so I was lucky, and I worked hard because that's how you learn. Like I didn't want to draw when I first started. I just wanted to carve. But what Frida did, Frida was pretty sneaky. She sends me up to Alaska to teach the children in the school how to draw ovoids and U shapes and L shapes and all of our traditional designs. And then after I drew about 10,000 ovoids, I thought, that's why she sent me. Because I learned how to draw. I learned how to draw because this is all drawing. I drew this on just all my work. It's all drawing. It's I draw it right on the wood and I sculpt it up. Like I don't. Sometimes I'll draw it on a piece of paper, but I'll have an idea, but I always draw it on the wood. And I just cut it.
What's an ovoid?
It's the eye shapes, it's sort of our traditional shapes. Like this, look like a loaf of bread or something. But yeah, that's one of our traditional. We use them for the joints and the eyes, and we use them for, like, you could have an ovoid here for his shoulder
Shows
joint, hip
yeah.
joint, Yeah, we use them quite a bit.
So does every piece that you're teaching the kids have a name? Like every design?
Every design, you mean the name?
Does it? Well, yeah.
Yeah, well, usually there are crest designs. Like it'll be an eagle. We have traditional crests like eagles, ravens, killer whales, wolves, and how it is too is like say like how we get our crests is my mother's wolf, my grandmother's wolf, I'm wolf, my father's a raven, but we don't follow our father's side. We follow our mother's side. Our society is matrilineal. So I get my crest, my name, my traditional name from my mother's side. It's a wolf name. That's how we do it with the Northwest Coast. And traditionally, like I teach my nephews that are my sister's boys that are wolves, like Stan, yeah, and Ken. I teach them.
That must be a great day when you wake up and go and work with family, I think I misspoke though. I was asking about you were talking about teaching drawings to kids and the U shape and the ovoids. Do all those not symbols, but do all those patterns have a name?
Yeah, they're traditional. They're traditional. They're traditional shapes, That's been in our art for a long, long time. Yeah, they had names, and then, like we still use them. You know what I mean? Like, but it's evolving, though. It's changing, but slowly. Because art has to evolve and change. Like some people will think that I did this, but they'll say, well, that's not a totem pole. But they did sculptures too. They did everything. You know what I mean? Yeah, they were such great sculptors. They could carve anything, and they could make any size almost. So that's how good they were. The old people, our ancestors, they were great artists.
I bet they're very proud of what's happening here.
Well, I hope so. I think about it now, like I think about I was just lucky, that that I was ready, and I stuck to it, and I did it. You know what I mean? Because, like, I'm successful now, but I wasn't before, you know, and it was hard because, you know, like when I started, there was no market. There was no market. So we had to build a market and try not to starve, you know, while you're building the market, you know. So what I did was I taught too, you know. No, we did a lot of polls.
Yeah. Yeah, you're saying you've done about 25?
Yeah,
But
about 20.
or helped
Yeah,
with?
yeah. I done, yeah, about 20. About, I don't know, over 20 anyways. Stan's done about 40, and my other nephew done 40 too. So we done over 100.
I bet that puts a big grin on, you know, all your community members' faces and your family's faces, no?
Oh yeah,
They
yeah,
must be so
yeah,
proud of that.
yeah, yeah. We don't think about it, but we just do it, you know.
Right.
Yeah, we just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, you know, art is really important because art is like our traditional way is, it's who we are. You know, it's our crest and our like the wolves are supposed to be strong, smart, proud, and free. You know, and our people like what we share and what we did in the feasts and giving. That was our culture, you know, and respect for each other, and respect for the clans, for the animals, for everything. That's what we believe. Like the wolves, I don't shoot a wolf, you know. Somebody else will get it for us. But we don't shoot our own crest. Yeah, stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, things like that. It's definitely something I didn't know, and yeah, I'm not even sure if that's something that where I'm from, they follow that or not. Yeah. I'm excited to find out though.
Yeah.
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 Is yeah, how is it teaching your nephews and your family, working alongside them?
Oh, it's really good, you know, because like Stan's really good, and like he's an artist in his own, you know, right. And I'm really proud of him now, you know, and Ken, my other nephew too, Ken, because they stuck to it and they did it too. You know what I mean? It's being an artist. It's a struggle. We call it the magnificent struggle, because it's good, but it's bad too. You get good days and you get bad days, and good times, and like even myself, it's like a roller coaster. You know, sometimes I can't work. I just can't work. I know all that stuff and I can't do it. But you got to know how to get around it, you know, and get going again, and motivate yourself, you know. Like myself, like I live here and I read a lot, and I travel a lot too, and I study good art, you know. I study it, I look at it, because you could learn from anything. And I live today, you know, and because I think about our art form, like where would it have gone if we didn't stop, or my ancestors didn't stop, you know. We'd be way out there, because they were great sculptors, great artists. That's where I got to go, by myself, as an artist. Because an artist, you could learn so much, you could do so much, but eventually, you know, you got to go your own way. And that's what Frida did to me too. She kicked me out of the nest. She said, "I can't teach you no more because you got to go to Alaska." And so she sent me up there to teach, and so that's what I did. But I met my family up there, my relatives, Tlingit relatives. And I learned dancing and singing and drumming and sculpture from our relatives, and so I was lucky, and we studied the old poles there, Stan and I, and we did about 4 or 5 poles up there.
Wow.
With Frida, and not with Frida, but with the students.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's how you see, like a true artist, you have to do your homework, and your homework is learning art, learning sculpture, learning forms, learning design, learning to draw proper. Also, your own drawing, you know what I mean? And also,
Your style.
and then you got to find your own passion, because eventually, like what happens is you're moving along, but you've got to go eventually your own way, because that's where your style is, that's where your art is, that's where your truth is. If you're a true artist, that's where your truth is, and that's what you got to try to get to. And it's not easy. It's not easy.
I imagine that's not an easy path.
No, it's not an easy path, and you're by yourself too. And you got to go by yourself with what you know and your knowledge and your strengths, in your art and your belief too. You got to believe in yourself and what you're doing.
Sometimes that's the hardest part, hey?
Yeah, because you actually hold yourself back. And like I think about, say I'm a Northwest Coast artist. I'm Tlingit and Tahltan. If you go back in the art as you start moving ahead with your career, I've talked to other artists, and you're going to hit the Tlingit wall. And what the Tlingit wall is the art of our ancestors. And it's great art. And myself, how am I going to get around that? Or how am I going to get over that? Or under it? And me and my friend from New Zealand, we decided, that you can't. Because if it's great art, it's great art. And it's great art for all time. So the only thing we decided we could do is do our very, very best work. And we have to try to carve our own wall for our own time with our own style for today. That's all we can do. That sounds easy, but that's a whole lifetime of work. People don't think about it that way, but that's how we think. Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just lucky I'm finally getting close, or somewhere. I'm getting to the ball field. Better touch wood. Finally get to the ball field.
Yeah, I'd imagine, I don't know, 100 years in the future, people, your family looking back, some, amazing legacy, and someone else going down the same path that you went, going, oh, what's the secret?
Yeah.
I gotta find it for myself.
Yeah, it's hard work.
Yeah, and then looking back on your art and going, yeah.
Yeah, it's when I think about it too, it's like when I went to Catholic school in Prince George, I got C- in art, but she made me so mad. I was determined to get good. And when I won the Governor General's Award and I won the Officer of the Order of Canada, I thought, that's pretty darn good for a C-. And I wanted to go talk to her. There was a reunion, but she wasn't there. So, but I realized now her job was to, piss me off and determine. And that was her job. But I'm lucky I did it. And I stuck to it, It wasn't easy though, it's always, I think about it now, say, what I'm doing now is I'm doing this and I'm doing whatever, I'm doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because I realize what I know and what I could do, the skill and knowledge. Not everybody has that. Also, I've earned it by doing all those pieces, carving all those things. Because you got to earn it
Mm-hmm.
for it to be yours. To be yours, you have to earn it with your hard work. Otherwise, it's never going to be yours. And you won't understand it anyways, even if they told you the secret. You know what I mean? Because the best learning is self-learning.
Mm-hmm.
Self-learning, not only that, that's your truth. You got to find your own truth. And that's where your style is. And that's what I know. And that's what I've been trying to do. And what I realize now, I think about my work, and I've got drawings and drawings. I'll show you sometime. I got drawings, and I realize if I don't do it, nobody's going to do it. Because nobody sees it. Nobody sees it the way I do. Some of those things I dreamt of, I see them. You know what I mean? I see them, and I could carve them. And finally, where I'm at now is I could carve what I draw. You could draw it, but you got to figure out how to carve that. You know what I mean? And I could carve it now, finally. I mean, you get enough experience, you know what I mean? You did enough stuff, you could do it. Say like the Fog Woman, I could carve her. And not many people can do that because they haven't done enough sculpture. You got to understand sculpture. And sculpture is one of the hardest things to get, Because if you can't draw, your pieces are like this, empty.
Yeah, not alive.
Not alive. Yeah. And you got to put that life in it. But how do you do that? How do you do that? And our ancestors did. You know what I mean? Because they lived it. And they were good people. And I found out later on that my grandmother was an artist. My grandmother's father was a carver from Alaska, from Hoona. And my great-grandmother was a basket weaver. So the art has been in my family. And on my grandfather's side, the Taltan side, they were song composers and storytellers. And they were also healers too, my grandfathers, yeah. So they were leaders too, So I was lucky I got the art on both sides, you know what I mean? And I was lucky I was born in this family. And that's what I realized about Michelangelo. He was born in the right family, in that stonecutter's family. You know what I mean? And what if he was born with somebody, he wouldn't have done it. You know what I mean? When you think about it, right?
Yeah.
But then he was abnormal.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine having the two different art forms, really, really set something off in you probably. Having song composers and carvers.
Yeah. Because a long time ago, like they said, that the best carvers were the best dancers. Because the movements are in the forms. They're in these forms. When you understand them. When you understand sculpture. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're very connected, aren't they?
Yeah, they're connected. And also, too, is in the design, too. The proportions and everything. It's all in the drawing. And if you understand the ovoid and the U shapes, it's all in there, too. It's all in here, too. And that's what gives it the life, the drawing.
And song as well?
Yeah, the songs too, yeah. Because the song was always part of our art,
Is it, and this might be one of those times, but is it does your art come alive more um, if you're able to, I don't know, perform all three, or if you have a better understanding of all three of carving and dance and song?
I think so, because, well, you got to understand the culture too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, but they all go together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you understand the art, it all goes together.
Mm-hmm.
It's all a part of it. Because you can't separate the culture from the land, from the art.
Mm.
They all go together. They're all part of it. Because, like wherever you live, okay, affects the way you see and the way you work.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people say, well, why do I live here? I could see the ravens, I could see the eagles, I could go down the river, and I'm close to nature. I'm inspired here. And it's our land, so why should we go somewhere else? You know what I mean? I did my whole career from the north here, from Rupert and here, because that's where I was inspired, and where you live affects the way you see too. And in art too, what I realize is you only see what you really know. If you don't know it, you don't see it. It goes by you. That's how ideas are too. And if you're not ready, they're not even going to look at you. It's going to be gone.
Yeah, easy to miss those little things, and especially if you don't see them all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You got to be ready.
Mm.
And what I think about the ideas too, you got to catch them before they pass you. If they pass you, you never see them again. You won't.
Yeah, I bet on those off days. I mean, if I had an off day here, I would I'd be up there.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
take my mind off things and yeah,
yeah.
that's a
Because like the forest is healing. Nature is healing to us. It's healing. Yeah. That's why we live here.
yeah.
Like I realized too is like artists that live in cities, the art is different. It's different. Ours is
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Because nature, nature's round.
Oh, it has so many shapes
Yeah,
and
yeah,
patterns and
yeah.
yeah, different colors.
Different colors, everything, forms, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I see the faces sometimes in the land. Sometimes I'll see it in the forest,
Mm-hmm.
in the colors in the forest. I see the masks, I see them. I see them on the mountain sometimes. There's faces there. I think that's the ancestors. Because we have a saying that, like when our people leave, they go back to our traditional land. They go back to our land, traditional territories, where they go when they leave.
Does it make you happy when you go for a walk and look at the mountain or look in the forest and see them looking back at you?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. When doesn't happen all the time, but when it happens, I'll go home and I'll draw them down, draw some down, because they change too. They'll change on you.
Mm.
Like with the drawing, how important a drawing is that, like that's what trains you to see. Most people look, but they don't see because artists train themselves to see. And drawing is what trains you to really see. Proportion, forms, colors, depths, everything. That's what an artist does. I really look at things, like I study them. I see how they did it. You know, I really can look at it now. Because I know it, right? Because I know all this stuff. And what I've been trying to do is use what I know now in my work, you know.
Right.
Because in your whole life, you don't even use 10% of what you know. Your whole life. So what I'm doing now is I'm using what I know, putting it in the sculptures, you know, that I'm doing. That's what I'm doing now.
Now isn't just recently? Because it seems
Well, I've done.
seems you've been doing that for
I've
a
done,
while.
yeah, I've done it just about all my life. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've done a lot of different things. Because you know, like an artist, you got to keep pushing and you got to keep growing. You know what I mean? You can't go back. You know, and I can't copy things, or I can't even copy myself. It makes me sick. You know, so I'll make something different. Yeah, I'm always. And now, if it's not a challenge, I don't want to do it because it's already been done, right? And then you realize after a while that almost everything's been done, so you got to go your own way. And that's what I've been trying to do with my work, you know, just go my own way. But that takes a lot of courage. But it takes a lot of courage to be good at anything. You know what I mean? And courage and belief in yourself, you know, and your culture and your skills, you know, and what you could do, right? And the confidence, you know, you got to have the confidence. And I think, too, as like a true artist, you're born that way. You sort of got to do it. Like people on Saturday, they're going there, going here. I'm going to work. I got to work. You got to do it. And that's what I've been doing.
The dedication.
But it's my work. It's my life. You know, it's people are looking at my life, what I did. You know, like my retrospective show, you know, when I looked at those pieces, I thought, I realized, you know, like, ooh, I just felt them like this, you know, they're like my kids, you know, because when I started them, they were a block of wood, but they end up like my children, you know. And this one little mouse was looking at me, and I thought he was saying to me, he said, "Where you been, Dad? It's 40 years. Haven't seen you for 40 years, you know." Anyway, I could feel them, like it just totally exhausted me. It just drains me, my energy, because my energy went into them, you know what I mean? And now they got the energy, you know, and it's different, it's weird.
Yeah,
It's really powerful. Like that show over there is really powerful.
Yeah.
It's powerful. The one up in Whistler.
Yeah.
The last show is going to be in Kelowna.
In Kelowna?
Kelowna, that's going to be a strong one too. Yeah, when you get them all together, it's really strong. You know, I got this collector guy. He wants me to stay with him in his house. I tried a couple of times. I couldn't sleep all night. All my kids were talking to me all night, you know, and I could feel them, you know.
Yeah, you used to carry them around, no?
Yeah, I used to carry them around, and in my basement, and look after them, and cover them up. And, yeah, like I did the Fog Woman, and somebody asked me one time, how long did it take you to carve the Fog Woman? I told him she was my girlfriend for 1 year, and then she left me. I told him that's how long it took to carve her, 1 year. Because I know every line on her, right?
Yeah.
And then, people don't realize, but an artist, every line. Like I made the smart one, the mask, and he was the keeper of the stories. And my grandfather told me about him, and he was educated by the elders, and he lived with the elders, and he had a phenomenal memory. And if you didn't have this memory, you couldn't be the smart one. Anyways, I was carving them, and then I put them on my bench, and I had a little work window there, and I put them there, and I went to have coffee and get my coffee, and I come back down, and I looked at him, and he was looking at me really strong, I said, holy, I swore, anyways, and he was there, he's looking at me really strong, and so I let him finish himself. I studied him, and I looked at him every day, I let him finish himself just the way he wanted to be finished. And then I realized at the end he was smarter than me because he turned out exactly the way he wanted to be, not the way I thought of him. You know, the idea, my idea.
It changed a little bit.
It changed, yeah, because I thought of him this way because that's how I figured him out. You know what I mean? How to do him. But he ended up this way. And then I realized it doesn't matter because he turned out better than I ever thought. You know what I mean? And I'll be remembered by him now. You know what I mean? Like, and I felt good because it's like an honor to be a part of him for that time. But he's got his own feeling, his own life, his own, you know what I mean? But that's what art is. That's what great art is. And that's what I've been trying to do all my life is make some great pieces.
Oh, I think you definitely have.
Wow.
That speaks for itself.
Some of it, yeah. I don't think about it because, you know, like one of my teachers, you know, he told me, you can't hold monuments up to yourself.
Right.
Because how are you going to get better? How are you going to get around them? You know what I mean? So you got to just keep going. Keep going, you know. Think about it later. And that's what I did with them. That's what I did.
While you're carving, and this might be a time to move along, but do you ever tell stories while you're carving to your pieces or sing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sometimes. You know, like when we're working on the pole, we sing sometimes. You know, because when you're adding, and you don't get tired.
Is that the one behind you there?
Which one?
The ats?
Yeah,
Yeah.
ads, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes we sing. The old people did. They
Yeah.
sang, yeah. And they used to tell it by the texture on the wood, because everybody's got a different song. So the texture's all different. They used to know by the texture on the wood who carved that. That's how good the old people were. They used to know.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's something else. Yeah, I imagine it would be similar to like a brush stroke then, if you can
Oh,
tell.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was sort of like their signature.
Yeah,
Yeah, the artist's signature. Yeah.
that's beautiful. For those that are younger, that are looking to get into art, making art, or carving, is there a good piece of advice you'd give them?
Well, you know, I think you have to learn as much as you can. And because if you stop learning as an artist, you stop being an artist. Because what happens is, you know, like if you don't push yourself, right? And some people, they'll find their style and they'll stop, but they're actually finished because you don't get better. And if you don't get worse, you're kind of plateauing. You know what I mean? And it might be good or people like it, but it sells, but you're finished. And I never want to be like that. I always wanted to do what I wanted to do, you know, and I wanted to find my own style. And that's what I did, you know, like when I got that C- in art, I thought about it and I told her, I'm Taltan and I'm Tlingit and I'm a Wolf Clan. And that's my heritage. That's who I am. I said, I can't deny who my grandparents are. My grandmother, my grandfather. That's how I see it. And that's how I do it. And I always stuck to that, you know, I always stuck to what was right for me. And I was going to find it. I was going to do it. And that's what I did with my work. I always stuck to it. I was lucky. art, like it's a long journey too, and I realized too, like when I seen all my old pieces, I realized the years I spent by myself, working, thinking, drawing, you know what I mean, sharpening, learning all this stuff. It was years. But I did it, you know. You got to be willing to pay the price. That's what it is. If you want to get there. And what I realized too is, like a true artist, okay, you can't mature as an artist with your own style if you didn't do your homework, which means you got to know what art is and what good art is, and you've got to learn to draw yourself. You know what I mean? And you got to try to find your own style. Plus, you got to get good at tools and, sculpture.
Yeah, I imagine that.
Drawing.
That's a whole element to it.
Yeah, because drawing is the key. Because it all goes back to the drawing. Like this, all drawing. It's all drawing, and everything I do is drawing. And that's what I was lucky to learn, and Frida gave that to me.
Was the C minus? Was that a drawing class or just general art?
Yeah, I was my art teacher. She was my art teacher.
Just general art, or?
Yeah. Just drawing. Yeah.
I bet that's a good thing to. Well, I don't know. Maybe I would probably look at that on my down days.
Yeah.
Ha.
Yeah. Well, I thought about it. I did it. You know what I mean? I did it. And I realize now too, I did it for my ancestors. And my parents. And my grandparents. And the children. Because, what scared me was we came so close to losing it all. So close, and it's a great art form. And I didn't want it to be lost. It's too beautiful.
It is.
And like say with the Northwest Coast, they tried to put us in categories and that we should be just doing this and doing that. But no, they were always innovating. They're always changing. They could do this. They could do anything. Because art has to evolve. If it doesn't evolve, it dies. It's going to die. And every art changes in the different times and the people of that era, And you got to find your art in that time that you live, not, I can't go back, You know what I mean? Like somebody asked me, like if I still use stone tools. I said, I'd starve, and I said I came here on the jet. I didn't come on the canoe, because they think I should just be doing this, But see, like Northwest Coast, they didn't know where to put us because we didn't come from European art history or theory.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We come from here. Our art comes from this land, from the mountains, from the
might be a foreign
animals,
concept.
from the rivers. You know what I mean? And that's where our art comes from. Yeah.
The forests and the rivers and
the animals.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
which, from the European point of view, I think that's very alien.
Yeah.
Right? It's completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they try not. They don't think of us as fine artists, but we are. Not all of it, but a lot of it was. The old art was great. Some of the greatest sculpture ever done at any time or any place. That's what I feel good about. Because I think about it like, like there's talent, but talent, you got to have discipline. You got to have commitment.
Yeah, like
You
you're
got to have
saying.
the work ethic.
Yeah.
You got to have the attitude too, the good attitude, good learning attitude, you know. Plus, you got to use what you learn too. That's the other part of it. You got to use it, otherwise. Like I've been saving ideas, and I think like, what for? You're not getting younger. When are you going to do it, right? Who's going to do it, right? And I realize now nobody's going to do it if I don't do it. And people could learn from what I do now and what I've done, People could learn from that. Because like all the great artists were always ahead of themselves or ahead of their time, in sculpture or whatever, painting designs and ideas, and I think about my wall sculptures are like that, because people think it's not a tonable, so it's not real. So, and what I'm doing now is I'm working on a show about the canneries, the salmon canneries, because we're the last cannery generation of people. Like I grew up there, that's where I grew up.
Right, yeah.
And there's no more canneries now. And there's been canneries on the coast for over 100 years. And I realized too is that, like out of the canneries came a lot of artists. A lot of artists came out of there. Frida lived there, I lived there, my nephews lived there. Kind of about 20 came out of Port Edward. Don Yeomans lived there, you know what I mean? And Bob Jackson, these are all carvers. Ken McNeil, my nephew, James Lewis, Norman Tate, Albert Tate, Chip Tate, Fred Nelson, Sam Nelson, Dale Campbell, Terry Campbell, Linda Bob, Virginia Bob, my sisters. Got about 20 come out of the canneries. And what I'm doing too is I realize too is that like we're losing the salmon, so I want to make a statement about that, Because the salmon is our culture. It's always been our culture, and it's always been our survival. The salmon, we could put up enough salmon in a month that lasts us a year. And we could do our art. Gave us the time to do our art. You know what I mean? And we didn't have to be hunting all the time, But that's, like the salmon to us is like the buffalo to the Plains Indians.
Right.
It's always been that way.
Yeah, a massive food source and yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of different people at the canneries, weren't there?
Oh yeah, there was a lot of different tribes,
A lot of culture.
Lots of culture, yeah.
Yeah.
When I grew up there in the 50s, like there was, like my grandfather, he was born in 1893. So his parents were from the other century, you know what I mean? So his knowledge came from them, right? You know what I mean? Then he taught me, so, you know what I mean? And I was lucky, you know what I mean? And there was a lot of people like that, and they told us stories. There was no television, so they told stories. You know what I mean, after supper. Then when television came in, they sort of changed, people stopped telling our stories and, our history, our culture, right? And the culture was strong then too. We shared everything and helped each other. That's our culture. We shared salmon, everything, herring eggs, seaweed, everything, potatoes. We all shared. But that's our culture.
You were saying, yeah, you didn't have a lot of toys growing up. I mean, that's really where you first started working.
Drawing?
Well,
yeah, we do.
Carving your own toys, right?
Yeah, I carved my own toys. That's how I started. But we used to draw too, eh?
Right.
Yeah, we used to draw stuff, and we used to draw a lot.
Do you remember the first toy you carved yourself or your friend?
Well, we carved all the slingshots and bow and arrows, and you know what I mean.
Troublemaker.
Yeah, we'd make a slingshot,
or food.
and we'd go get the grouse.
Yeah,
Go get the grouse and roast it.
I guess I think for my generation, a slingshot is something to get in trouble with, not something to feed yourself with.
Yeah, Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was lucky, And I talk about the cannery days, and everybody said, you know what they said? It was the best times of their lives because people
Yeah.
were working and people had a bit of money. They didn't have lots of money, but they had money and they had a job, and you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And you felt good about it, right? And you were fishing, and they were out there fishing, and our people were fishing, and they had their own boats, and you know what I mean. And so everybody was working together, and they worked hard.
Mm.
And I think the hard work is what makes the feeling. You know what I mean? Like the hard
Yeah.
work and the working together.
Yeah.
Everybody helping and working really hard, and that's what creates that feeling.
Yeah, it definitely drives, that knits the community together for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Did you ever think, when you were a kid, did you ever think that you'd go down the carving path and
No,
you'd be an artist?
I didn't. No, I didn't really think about that. Because my father was a carpenter, right? And he
Mm-hmm.
worked with wood, and I used to help him a bit, and I used to watch him. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Because he could build anything, eh? And so I I thought I would be a carpenter. That's what I thought, because I liked wood, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then when I started carving, I just knew that's what I want to do, and that's what I'm going to do. That's, I found it. I was lucky. Lucky I did.
Mm.
And lucky I met Frida.
Mm-hmm. Lucky she kicked you out too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Another branch of learning there, probably.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
could only imagine,
Well, she
sitting.
knew too, is like, because I'm not Haida, you know what I mean?
Mm.
I'm Tlingit.
Mm.
I got to find my own,
Mm-hmm.
our own style.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our own art. And that's what I did.
So a lot of practice and a lot of, yeah. I mean, I don't know how many drawings you did of those kids, but I imagine that yeah, that that helped a lot.
Oh, yeah, you learn how to draw. You learn how to draw eventually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of determination.
Yeah.
Go for walks in the wood. Learn.
Yeah. And don't give up.
Don't give up. Yeah.
You know what I did too is when I was traveling, I'd go study the old pieces, wherever I can, and look at them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To learn,
Mm-hmm.
just to learn. Because there's great pieces all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
I was lucky I could go and see them,
Yeah, that's really fortunate.
Yeah.
Did you start traveling when you were in cadets for a little while? Was that
In what?
in cadets?
Army cadets?
Was that it?
Yeah, I was in Army cadets. Yeah.
Was that the first,
That's the first time. Yeah.
like, big travel?
Yeah,
'Cause I imagine
because we
traveling
had
is
we had no
different.
money, right?
Yeah.
And why we joined cadets was because we traveled.
Mm.
Also, people said we were going to go to war. We weren't going to go to war, but what it was they paid us money to go to camp, like Vernon,
Mm.
$100. We never had $100, for 6 weeks, so
Yeah.
that's why we joined up. And they fed us good too. So, people complained about the food. We were just having a good time, man. But it was good discipline. See, I learned discipline. I still use that discipline in my work, doing things proper. Like there you had to shine your boots and fix your bed and, do this. I still use that training in my work. But I got that discipline from my parents too. They were strict, and my dad was a hard worker. My mom too, and you know what I mean. And so I was lucky, you know. Then I put in my work, quality. And my grandfather said too, is you know, like about our art. He said, if you don't do it proper, don't do it at all.
Mm.
And what my grandmother said too is about our art is that, you know, like she said, our crest, like the wolf, she said, it's in our blankets, it's in our bracelets, it's in our masks, it's in our totem poles, it's in our rattles. And she said, when we wear our blankets with the wolf crest, she said, that's our family face. You know what I mean? That's our symbol, right? Our crest. And she said, when we show our face, our family's face, she said, it's got to be the best. That's what she said. So that's how I approach my work. That's why I work like that and do the work.
It's a good approach. Yeah.
Yeah.
To make your family proud.
Well, not only that, it's got to be good. You know what I mean? Because that was our heritage. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And our ancestors were proud people, and good people. You know.
Did you see any art when you took that first trip?
No, when I was in Army Cadets, no. No, we went to Manitoba the first time, the first year. I was in there 2 years. We went to Manitoba on the train. And we'd never been on a big plane, you know, so we went on a big plane to Vancouver. Never been to Vancouver. Never seen a television. It's the first time we saw television was in Vancouver.
That must have been, yeah, something different.
Different, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There wasn't any art in Vancouver at that point?
Well, there was, but I wasn't an artist then. You know what I mean? I was just young, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think about it now, it's one of the best times of my life too, you know, being there with those guys and doing stuff and with my friends traveling. But, you know, we were trained by young soldiers. Like, they treated us young soldiers. We were only 14. And these guys, we were trained by the veterans that were from the Second World War. And also the regular Army guys from the Korean War vets. That's who taught us. And they treated us like young soldiers in the camp. So we had to work, and you know, and we did all kinds of stuff. We shot machine guns and everything. You know, we did all kinds of stuff.
Completely different path than carving.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what it was too, it gave us pride in ourselves too. You know, when you're working together. You know, like our companies, we had companies, and we always try to win this pennant. You know, every week for the best barracks, the best dressed, and best, you know. And the second year students, like the guards company, they always beat us. Well, we beat them one time, but we all worked together. We shined everything, even the bathroom and everything. The fire extinguisher. But we did it.
Were they sore?
Oh yeah, they were mad at us. They caught us, they throw us in the shower, you know.
Oh.
Yeah, we had some good times. There were some good First Nations in there. They were good soccer players and softball players, these guys.
Oh,
we won track and field and won everything. Our company. We had one guy in our company was on the Olympic team for Canada.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we just took off.
Good luck catching it. Gone.
Yeah. No, I think about all those good things, like and what happened, and I think about it now. It's really good that you know, I was there, and I did it.
Mm.
I think about all my friends too, and I thought about it too, like that inspires me too. And like I still think about those days, you know what I mean, and the discipline that I learned. We helped each other, and that's how we got through it. Like we'd help we had one little guy, and we'd help him and protect him because that guy's trying to bully him, so we'd protect him. And my friend seen him years later, and the guy was about 6'8" or 6'9", this little guy, and he still remembered us.
Just rocketed up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I imagine with traveling, I mean, that's what I found for sure is, going away makes coming home just that much, makes you appreciate, well, it made me appreciate, all the things you take for granted. And,
Oh yeah,
that piece of like special area you'd hike in or whatever it is, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You know what I find too is like traveling is the best learning because you learn.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
children
absolutely.
that travel, like they're different. They're more, you know what I mean? They're more open, more, they see things and they learn. Yeah, it's the best learning experience you can get, is traveling. And that's what I did with my grandkids. They've been quite a few places. Yeah.
I bet they really appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah.
I also imagine it would, like with your work, it's probably going to help it evolve and grow your style as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Because like to be really good, you got to keep growing. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. It's finished. You're finished. You know what I mean? Like so, that's how the art is. And you got to push it. And like I said, you got to go your own way. Your own style, and do it. Because now, like you look at my work now. After you know my work, you'll see my style. You'll know it's mine, and that's what you got to find. It's like finding your own voice, your own style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that takes a long time. It's not easy. I was fortunate I had good teachers, and I listened to them. Because like true learning is the best learning is self learning, self-realization, Not only that is to really learn, you have to have humility in your mind. Otherwise it won't go in. Your ego gets in the way. And you can't learn. And that's what I mean about being really ready to learn. And having the right attitude. And be willing to do whatever it takes to get there. That's what's costly. That's what's costly.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of people just packing in a little too soon.
Yeah.
Stop right before they can start.
Yeah, yeah. Not many people go all the way. Because like say that with our stories, like there's so much to learn with them, like and if you understand them, it's a whole way of life, and it's also a lot of truth in there. And they're spiritual too, but we don't talk about it, but it's there too. It's in the art too, but we don't talk about it. But our ancestors, they were spiritually strong people and good people. That's why their art is different. That's why it's different. And they were real warriors. They were warriors, real warriors. That's what they were.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something else.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine it.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see where this piece comes from, or not comes from, is going, rather. Still, yeah. Still blows me away. You could do this in 8 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just, yeah.
That comes from practice and experience.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have experience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, red cedars it's one of our main carving woods. It's our spiritual tree too.
Yeah?
Yeah, because we use it for everything, for totem poles, longhouse, canoes, masks. We also use the bark for the baskets. And it's our spiritual tree, and we use it in ceremony too, the branches. Yeah. Yeah. And the yellow cedar is another one of our carvings. The red cedar is for big totem poles,
Okay.
canoes, because they last the longest outside. And then yellow cedar is good too. Yellow cedar is for smaller carvings because it's hard and you get really good detail in it, crisp.
Oh.
For small carvings, yeah. And it's harder than this. This is softer. But you need really sharp tools to work it. And the alder too is another traditional carving wood. It's a hardwood.
Yeah.
And we use the alder for our bowls because it's got no taste. You know what I mean? Like cedar's got
Yeah.
oil in it, right?
Yeah.
So we use alder for that. And
Oh.
we use maple for the rattles because it gives a really good sound, the hardwoods. So they knew about all that stuff. Our people, like what was good for this, and you know what I mean, to making stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, which piece is best suited for which?
Which wood is
Yeah.
good for spoons or bowls or ladles, and you know what I mean, paddles. And, yeah, they knew so much. Their technology was wood. You know, they knew wood. They were great carpenters and builders and carvers, sculptors.
I imagine all that information is being passed on.
Yeah, we've been teaching
yeah.
the young people. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we don't have to start in the wilderness, like we did. Start all over again. So that's what. And what I think about my career and what we did is, it's one of the best things I did was give it back to our people, because it belongs to them, and also they don't have to start where we started in the wilderness with nobody, with nothing. You know what I mean? We had to make our own tools. We had no money to buy tools. We had to make them. And,
What would you make
but
them
we
of?
learned files and
Yeah.
bus springs and car
Bus
springs
springs, yeah.
for the adzes, And we used files to make the bent knives, and we knew Frida taught us all that stuff. We didn't know, you know what I mean? That's why she was such a key. Because, like we're hanging on by a thread, and Frida was our thread, to our culture. Yeah.
I'm glad that thread lasted.
Yeah. Where it's getting strong again, finally. Yeah. And what's happening today is finally the young people want to learn. Finally. And we're retiring, you know what I mean? They finally want to learn. But we're still teaching, we're still mentoring, with some of the students that want to work. Yeah, we mentor them still.
How long do you think you'll be teaching for?
Probably forever. It's I'm teaching my grandson now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want it to be lost anymore.
Yeah.
People, Yeah, culture is important because culture is who you are. Culture. And whatever you do that's your culture. You know what I mean? And culture gives you identity. Culture gives you meaning. Culture gives you a reason to get up and do something. You know what I mean? And culture is very important. Because culture is like the glue of societies. It's a spiritual glue of societies. But you got to believe it. But you got to do it too. You got to live it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it has no meaning. Otherwise, it's not culture. And if you look at every great society, when their culture comes apart, right? The whole Roman Empire collapses.
Yeah. Crumbling starts. And,
Crumbling from corruption and you know what I mean? And loss of culture, really. That's why culture is important. Culture makes you strong.
Yeah, it was quite something coming into Terrace from from all the other places we had visited, and it was very palpable here, the culture. It's really cool to see.
Oh yeah.
Really good breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
right there in the front of almost anything we read about Terrace. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's really important.
Yeah, pretty evident that a lot of people in this area definitely want to, and across Canada want to see it preserved as well. So.
Oh yeah. Because like that's what gives your life meaning.
Absolutely.
And your yourself, and you know what culture is? It's a spiritual thing. You know what I mean? And it's a need.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, because if you don't know your history, you're lost.
Mm-hmm.
And what we have a saying that if you forget your land, you know, your traditional land, your spirit gets lost.
Mm.
And that's what's happened to a lot of people. Because if you think about everybody was one time close to the land as farmers and fishermen and hunters and gatherers, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you can't divorce yourself in 100 years from the land and expect to be functioning.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, because you think about history, people have been close to Mother Nature thousands and thousands of years. You know what I mean? And you can't divorce yourself in the city in 100 years and expect to be functioning normally. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I could agree to that for sure. It's always like a reset when you get to go for that walk or
Yeah.
hang out down by the river, or,
Yeah.
get to the top of the mountain or whatever it is.
It's healing.
Yeah.
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 Because it's powerful here.
Mm-hmm.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
That's why I live there.
Ah.
Yeah, but I travel all over the place. Like I've done all kinds of stuff. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. Excited. The 28th of September. You
Yeah.
said you're,
Emily Carr,
Emily Carr.
University. You got my email, Dempsey at dempseybob.com.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the person that's working there is Connie Watts. Connie Watts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Emily Carr.
Connie Watts.
Yeah, the Maoris are coming. Maoris are coming.
That'll be, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said you're doing some work with them, and
Yeah.
yeah, they're coming over to
Do the part of the ceremony.
do part of the ceremony, right?
Yeah. There's
Unless-
some good artists there. There's a lot of good artists there. Did you see the show, The Whale Rider?
No.
It's a good show.
Yeah, I'll have to watch that.
A friend of mine, Derek Lardelli, that's his village. That
Yeah.
show. Yeah. And he's the one, you know, that All Blacks do that haka.
Right.
He wrote that.
Oh.
Derek, he's coming. He's coming.
And doing part of the ceremony.
Yeah. And
So
he
cool.
does tamoko. That's
Oh,
tattooing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a master. Yeah. Yeah. And they've got an art school down there called Toyokura. And he's one of the instructors there.
Oh.
But he does everything. He's a historian and he knows so much stuff. He just got knighted. So I told him, do I have to bow to you now? I told him.
What did he say?
He just laughed, you know. I told him, tell the students about drawing. He said, well, this is it. He says, if you can't draw, he said, you may as well forget it. He told him,
Oh, I hope.
because you
a
know,
lot of-
like tattooing,
Mhm.
it's all drawing.
Oh.
It's all drawing.
Yeah.
Same with jewelry, you know.
Yeah.
And you're drawing tiny, you know. You gotta be able to draw, man. You gotta draw. It's all drawing. Same with this. Sculpture is all drawing too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Had good times with him, boy. We had some really incredible experiences, you know. Yeah.
Do you ever get up before the ravens start talking and start carving?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's one of our sayings too, is My grandmother used to say, you got to get up and do something important before the ravens start talking.
Mm.
She said the wolves travel at night and the ravens travel in the morning. What that saying means is there's after people get up,
Mm-hmm.
it gets all mixed up because people get up grouchy and they're mad and you know what I mean. They ruin the whole day, or their day, not somebody else's. Because at daybreak, all I'll say is that's the spiritual time. At daybreak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's what my grandpa said. You know why I call my show The Wolves, from my retrospective, is because I wanted to honor my grandparents, my grandmother
Yeah.
and my mom, because they're wolves. Anything else?
Definitely, but it has been an hour and a half. That is a beautiful name for a show. Not for a show, for for giving honor to those that come before you.
Mm-hmm. And our crest too, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't push it, Like we don't,
Yeah.
our way. Well, we don't. It's just like our art too. We do it, but we don't. Because good art, it's just got to be good. It's got to be good. We'll know what's good.
It is good. Yeah. A lot of time and dedication.
Yeah, patience too.
Patience.
Yeah, you gotta have patience. And
Yeah.
you gotta love what you're doing too.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's work. It's not work to me. You know what I mean? Like,
I can see that.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 And like I said, like a true artist, you gotta do it. I don't know, something in you, you gotta do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I am. I think you're born that way. I was born that way. And I think about all the stuff I learned and stuff I did, lucky I was close to my grandparents, and they told me stories and told me incredible stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
some of the things they told me are coming true now. You know what I mean? Now, yeah, they told me stuff, scary stuff about the environment and stuff. Yeah. They knew so much. They knew so much. And I was lucky, like I listened, like I wish I learned more though. But when you're young, you think you know it all, you know what I mean? But later on you realize, what they were trying to say and what they did, and things they told you and little things. Just like truth in culture and art, it's usually simple. But it's our thinking and our lifestyle and our habits that makes it complicated. And then we can't understand it, really. But the simple truth is powerful.
Yeah.
And like art, people think it's just about art, but great art is about life too. Because the great artists, you got to know about life. It's like, say, like a writer. If you're a writer, if you've never been hungry, how are you going to explain that? If you've never been homeless, you've never been without anything, you never had the blues. You know what I realized too is like that's how great art is too. It's like, like I went to this blues club in Copenhagen because I like the blues, the old blues, and these guys were playing the really classical, really good, they're really good musicians. But I realized they were all Danish guys and blonde, and there was no feeling. And I realized you can't play the blues if you didn't live it. How are you going to project it, right? How you going
Yeah, how are you going to tell it? Yeah.
How are you going to tell it? Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
And that's how art is too. Because if you don't know it, and if you didn't live it, and you can't project it, you can't put it in there. Because the artist has to put it in there.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it in here, how are you going to put it in there? It's impossible. It's like trying to give a child something you don't have. It's impossible. If you don't have it, you can't give it to somebody. You can't put it in there. If you don't have it in here, how are you going to put it in here? That's how art is.
So
and
really,
art doesn't lie. The
Yeah.
artist lies. But the art doesn't lie.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sitting down with me, with us.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you got some good stuff.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah.
From the behind the camera perspective, absolutely we got some good stuff. Just putting it out there.
Yeah. Well, like if you want to ask some more stuff, we got time anyways. I'm going to be here tomorrow, but I'll be here. Yeah, or you could just text me or something or phone me or something. We could do it like that. But it'd be good to see Stan. Stan's good too. You could tell him a teacher, eh? You could, but that's how I learned, That's how I did my homework, teaching.
Right, yeah.
And I learned from my students.
Yeah.
And that's why the old masters taught, because they had so many ideas and they wanted to do all this stuff and they learned from their students. Plus, they got their work done. And the masters, they benefited because they know where they're going. Most students don't. They're trying, but they don't know yet. But that's how it was. That's why they did it. That's where I realized why they taught. That's how I did it too. I did my homework by teaching our people. But I learned too. Because you learn from everything, right? If you got the right attitude. And that's what the art is too. It's like, that's why there's not much good blues. Because great art comes from the struggle. The struggle and treatment and of that time.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know,
absolutely.
and that's the difference today, I think. You know. Because, like, say, like, if you're a writer, if you don't know things, what are you going to say, right?
Mm-hmm. How are
You
you
got
going
to
to
have
describe
experience.
it?
How are you
Yeah.
going to describe it? You know, like, if you don't have experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to have experience, plus you got to live, too. You got to live, because art is about life, too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's life. Life truths, universal truths are in there, you know.
Get out and live and learn.
Yeah, and do, and
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
I work hard. You got to work hard. And what I realized too is, like, you got to earn it though by your hard work and your study and your learning and your struggle, and otherwise it's not yours, and it's never going to be yours, because you have to earn it, and then it's really yours, and then it stays with you. Otherwise it don't stay with you. It's not going to even look at you.
Yeah. That's some really, really good advice. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm a teacher, all right.
Oh, it shows, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
We should probably say bye to the camera.
Okay.
Forgot it was there.
See ya.
See you guys.
This is concrete country. Coyote earns a living wage like she's done through every age, picking up where she can and running free across the land. Down alleyways and avenues, creatures walk with eyes on you. But as the crow flies out at dawn, they see your face and then they're gone. Where do you find yourself? In the forest or the street? What makes a person choose to turn themselves to green?
My name is Stan Bevan. I'm from the community of Kitselas. My father's Simshian, and my mother's Teltan Tlingit from Telegraph Creek. I've been carving for over 40 years. I started learning in '79, and it took me till '87 before I started doing it as a career. But I've done art all my life, from selling to galleries, selling to cultural, teaching. I've done a lot of teaching. I did a lot of teaching in the '90s through the Yukon, Alaska, and BC. And that led me on to teaching at the college, at the Coast Mountain College. I taught there for 15 years at the Frida Deasing program. I started as a teacher and soon became a coordinator, and then helped develop develop the school through my cousin Ken and my uncle Dempsey Bob. We were the founders of the Frida Deasing School, founding instructors of the Frida Deasing School. And by 15 years, I was able to find some good, young, talented artists and teachers to take over, and that's when I felt comfortable that I could come back to my career. So it's been it was a good 15 years at the college. I enjoyed working with all the students. That was what really made the course, was that the students were so professional in their learning, and it was easy to teach them. So I enjoyed that 15 years of teaching and helping develop the program. And now now it's been taken over by a very confident team of young artists. So, and after it's been about 2 years now that I've come back to my art. I've always did my art, even though I was teaching. I was, but not as productive as I would have been if I was doing it continuously. And since I retired, I've been very fortunate to be able to work on many totem poles over the last few years. And what's nice about the totem poles, they're staying in our area, and they're culturally related. They're being commissioned by our First Nations people, and they're having meaning. They're having meaning to our nations. The poles are becoming significant in what they were originally meant for telling stories, for telling, marking the land and marking the territory and telling the story of the people that originate from this area. And I have been very honored to be able to be part of bringing these poles back.
That's beautiful. That I imagine, if you're teaching full time, you can't carve full time all the time.
No, it was it was a bit of a struggle to teach. I mean, to do my own work, because if I come home in the evenings and do 2 hours in the evenings after teaching, 5 days is not even a day's work. So you can see how it worked. But I did get the summers off, and through the summers I was able to create many of the totem poles that I've done over the last few years were done in the summer when I had time off. And the first poles that I did was our first year of opening the school, the Free Deasing School. Our first students, the Kitselas Canyon, my home community, were starting a cultural center, and they wanted poles, house paintings, several poles and several house paintings. And what was nice about it is that we had people to hire that were trained by us over the year, and so that's how we got started. And through a few years with working with the cultural center, we were able to develop poles in the summertime with trained students from the school, and from that it just leads on to other projects. Like the college then wanted projects for the campus at the. So we did the long, that followed on by the longhouse, and then eventually it followed into the new student housing. So we were able to create many of our larger projects with the help of many of the students that we taught over the years, and some have gone on to independent careers. So it's nice that we're able to be able to work with so many inspiring students that have been coming up as the new generation of artists. Yeah, so
That must be quite something to, have been teaching, and then go and see the product of your labor through teaching, and see all your pupils and.
Yeah, it's quite rewarding. What we've seen develop on their own over the years, but this last project with the college, the student housing, that we were able to. I was fortunate to be able to coordinate all the artists that were involved in participating, putting their art into the student housing, and to me that really tells a legacy of what the school has accomplished with developing these young artists. And seeing it all together was that's when I was, as we as instructors, as myself, Ken and Dempsey, we could see the what the school has been able to do and give these young artists their start in their careers.
And for the new ones coming into residence, like, seeing
Yes.
seeing
Yeah,
prior students work up there, and that must be really encouraging to be like, oh,
yeah, that's another important thing, is that because it's so hard for a young artist to go anywhere to study and have a standard to fulfill, and it's right there, right where they're learning. They can go and look at other young artists and aspire to that level. So it's teaching the foundations and bringing them to a level of being a professional artist. So it's nice that students have this opportunity, have this opportunity to learn from the instructors at the college or instructors at the Frida Deasing School.
yeah, waking up every morning going, oh, that'll be me one day. I bet that starts the fire, and
Yes,
it's also really, really proud.
yeah. That's
great.
that's our goal, is to give them a dream. So and it's possible. It just
Yeah.
it depends on how they live their lives and how they work towards developing their art. It's all possible. It's just how much they want it.
And have that drive.
Yes.
Yeah. And imagine a good teacher and a good teacher's teacher is crucial to that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You have to have a good mentor
Yeah.
to encourage you. If you can do it on your own, but the mentor is the most important thing. That's what keeps you going, if you have that mentor. I found out myself. I started developing my own woodcut prints, where you cut the design in the wood, and then you ink the wood, and then you put paper on, and then you press the wood and press the paper into the ink into the paper. But it took me about 5-6 years to understand how to do that properly, because I was trying to teach myself off of YouTube, and I couldn't get the right process, so I couldn't use it as a medium of my own art until I had a teacher that came in and told me this a day's work with the teacher. I understood how to properly do it and develop as a new medium for myself. And then I realized how important a teacher is. You can't just teach yourself. So
Wow. How many kids are at this, or how many applications does Frida Deasing School take?
there's usually a maximum of 12 in the first year, 12 in the second year, and I think 8 in the third. So, but third year doesn't run continuously. We have it every few years when we have enough students that want to be in the third year. And lately, third year has been more and more because of the amount of students that have learnt over the years, that we've got enough now that there's a good little base for students to continue learning in third. And third year is we try do it as like a mentoring course, but we also included a business. So and it's taken a few years to develop the business course and to have it in a way that's going to help artists. So that Nikita said that's finally developed over the years. I wasn't able to fulfill that, but with Nikita's work, she's able to continue that work, and they developed a proper business course for artists that will help them. So there's business, there's carving, which is like a mentoring program where the artist will come in, or the student will come in with a planned project, and the instructor will determine if they're capable of that project, and then let them go at it, and then mentor them along the way as they develop the project. And then there's the business course, and then there's a jewelry course. The jewelry course is taught by a young artist, Arlene Ness from the Hazeltons, and she's very, very talented. She does many mediums. We were lucky to have her as a first-year student when the school first opened, but she was already a talented artist and learned much of her art from the a lot of the older artists of the Gitsan. Many of them passed on, but she's very talented in jewelry, and that's how we were able to develop the course. And it's nice that we're using many of our own artists in our own area to come in and work with the students. So,
Yeah, having that like
their connection.
yeah, the connection.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the connection to the area, and the connection to the culture.
that's so good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. For a first year student, is it like over the summer you're saying you would work with some of the
Yes.
some people on a totem pole?
Yes.
Does that range from first year to third year, or is it just
Yeah, it ranges from first to third
Yeah.
year. Like Savannah's first year, she came in, and when we first started, that's the only one we can pick was the first year. But many of them that came in the first year were sort of like artists already, and now that the students are getting a lot younger now, they're coming out of high school and coming into the program. But they are because they've been artists all their life. So and when we do applications, when I did applications, I never chose a student because they were good at First Nations art. I was chosen because they were interested in being an artist in whatever art that they were practicing. I've seen what talents they had and determined that by if they would fit into the program. And many you can't really deny any artist of not wanting to be an artist. So it was quite easy to select students coming into the program. Not all of them went on to continue the art, but it brings them back to learning the culture, whether they continue being an artist, or if they go into something else, they will still would have had that connection close to the culture, because the art is all based around cultural practices and in traditions. So it's, even though it's going contemporary, a lot of the young artists have their own ideals. We like to ground them by teaching them fundamentals and also learning their culture and doing things properly.
Yeah, I think no matter what age you are, if you have that dream and that passion and encouragement as well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's great. That's a great avenue. And then also to hear, you know, if a lot of your applicants now are just right out of high school, that must be so heartwarming. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. That's how I started myself. I watched my uncle as a young teenager and seen the work that he did, and I was very interested in what he was doing. And he gave a course, afternoon course in Prince Rupert of drawing, and that's where I was able to be in Rupert that weekend and take the course with him and do a bit of drawing. And then by 17, when I graduated, I had the opportunity of going to Hazelton. They had a school there, Gitmac School of Art. It was the first carving school, but it went on for many years. It started in the 60s and it ended in the probably early 2000s. But that's where I went to school, where I started. I did my first 5-6 months there, and then I went on to work with my uncle. But being at a young age and seeing the art, that's how it got me interested in being an artist. Well, as I was an artist before that, I used to draw cartoons and all kinds of stuff. But carving was something I never did think of doing until I seen my uncle working, and then opportunity to work with him. So it stayed with me to want to be an artist. And I've been very fortunate to be working alongside him for many of the years, and I've seen the hard work that he does to maintain maintain being an artist. And so I've just followed along and did many of the things that he did by example. So I just worked in the same well, just being with him all the time is just like understanding what it takes. And that's what we try to tell the students, what it takes and how much work you have to do. So it's nice that we have some working with us and understanding what it really.
All the effort put in behind it.
Yeah. And that's what the school is. It's we're not just teaching the art. We're going to museums. We're visiting artists. They're writing grants. Everything an artist has to do. It's like the school is like a practicing to be an artist, along as learning the art. So you're doing being in exhibits and things like that, where they have different, like 5 different exhibits that they got to be in, and these exhibits they're counted. Like the Terrace Art Gallery, Kitselas Art Gallery, recently the Prince Rupert Museum, and we used to have a gallery in Vancouver. We haven't done that since COVID, but I think that'll eventually pick up again as we build up the students. But being in these shows gives them that experience of what it is to be an artist, because you have to be prepped. You have to have your artist statements. You have to have your bio. You have to speak. You have to. So they're getting all that experience of being an artist. So that's the school is not just teaching art, but there's teaching everything around. Going to museums. Museums is important because you got to study. Visiting other artists because you got to communicate. It's just everything that's involved. So we don't exactly put it in that way, but they get that experience, and hopefully they understand what they're learning and what it takes. Yeah.
Just here there's immense amount of effort, and I imagine trying to navigate that on your own without the avenue of all that knowledge. It's like that would be tough. It wouldn't be impossible, but it'd be real hard.
Yeah. Well, that's the reason why the school was started, because we identified that there wasn't very many northern artists being developed anymore because of probably because this Kitselas was very difficult to get into because of funding, and we'd see artists go to a certain level and then they'd be be blocked because being an artist is steps. As you work up in the steps, and if you get lost out, if you don't have any more ready to teach you after a certain step, then you just stay at that level. And we never seen anybody really going up the steps going for the potential of becoming a good artist. So the school gave that opportunity. So we identified that it would be nice that we could be part of helping young artists develop their art. And another reason why we were interested in starting the school is because we made a trip over to New Zealand, and we seen how developed their schools were, their traditional schools of art and carving with the Maori, and we had the level of art through commercially and being able to make a living as artists, and the Maori didn't have. When we were there, the Maori were interested in finding out how to make a living as an artist, but they had the highly developed schools. So we were sort of exchanging in those ideas. So what came out of that is our ideal to start a school when the opportunity was there. And we also, at the same time, we worked with the Maori on several group shows in Vancouver, and getting them to introducing them to the North American market for Maori art. So it was a nice, good relationship in the beginning with the Maoris.
Mm-hmm.
That we'll still have the relationship. It's just
Yeah,
it's
they're-
different.
yeah.
In the beginning, it was like new and exciting, and
Mhm.
now everybody's got their ways and ideals of what they're wanting to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely important. Hey, the information exchange and similar to the idea of starting the school and building up culture and making that a really strong presence, right, within your community. But then also, yeah, that's huge. Going out and sharing that with another nation
Yes. Yeah.
so far away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet that was received really, really well.
Yes. Yeah. When we got there, they treated us very well. They brought us. What they did was they brought us all over New Zealand and brought us to all their top artists and elders. And so myself and Dempsey were very, very lucky that they treated us so well that we got to meet many of the elders and their master artists, and at that time, now many of these people are gone, so it's like we were very fortunate to meet them at that time and be able to be involved in some of the things that they were doing and understanding how they worked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that show on the 28th, coming down to Vancouver.
Yeah, it should be good because a few of the Maori artists are coming over for it. So
Mm-hmm. Well, not only that, but yeah, just to see you folks again,
yeah.
and also for
Mhm.
yeah. Well, I don't think I should spoil it, but I'm sure you can find out if you really want to know. 28th of September, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
at Emily Carr.
Yeah,
there's
Emily
a-
Carr. Yeah,
pole being raised by
yeah.
three artists. My uncle, Lionel Grant from New Zealand, and myself.
Mm-hmm.
And we all did separate parts on the pole, but we all blended it into one ideal for the pole.
Really, really cool. Having that, that relationship is strengthening, and
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. I'd like to hear about the process for selecting a totem pole.
Mhm.
From the very beginning, if that's okay.
Well, usually the logs are selected for totem poles and are cut down and put in a log yard.
Mm-hmm.
And we could go out and pick a few trees, but basically they know what we want, so they pick what they cut down. They pick out the best sound cedars that they can find, and then they put them in the log yards. And then whether it's a community, my own community, when we did the poles for them, they selected the logs and brought them to the log yard. And then we selected which logs would work best for which project. Same with Kitsumkalum, the last one. But other than that, if they're for different nations, that there's a supplier in town that we work with, and he knows what we want, so he'll select logs out that we can possibly use for different projects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it starts with that, and then preferably it's nicer that they sit for maybe a year, so they're not so green when we start them.
Mm.
So, but if we can work either way, it's just how you take care of the log when you're carving it, because you have to, as you're working on it, you have to be careful. You have to of the weather. If it's too hot, if it's too cold, you've got to protect the pole. So,
Mm-hmm.
so as we work on it, because we don't want too many cracks on it. Cracks are part of the totem poles, anyways. But we prefer to have as less cracks before it goes up, and then it has its own life after it goes up. After the totem pole goes up, you don't put a finish on it. You try an oil on it, because the pole is breathing. So when it's raining, any cracks close up. When it's sunny, they open. So you got that that bit of life to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it continues that.
So there's a bit of a different process with greenwood then, and unseasoned.
Yeah, well, green season. Then you just gotta take it easy and let it. As you're working on it, just gotta be careful that it's not gonna open up or.
Oh, okay.
And the little more drier is easier to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if it's still green and got a lot of moisture, you gotta let the surface dry before you finish it. So
it's a slower process if it's uncured
yeah,
and green.
yeah, it's a more difficult process, but
Mhm.
it can be done. So.
Mm. And then of course, yeah, like you're saying, using,
Mm.
I'm guessing like covering it on hot days and then using the cooler days to work on it, and because
Yeah,
then it's uncovered and.
Yeah, we go by the days. If it's too hot, well, too hot is too hot for us, but
Yeah.
it's definitely too hot for the pole, because we like to take care of it
Mm-hmm.
until we deliver it, and then it's in care of the new owners, and we just tell them the things that need to be done. Sometimes if it's going indoors, we'll tell them, make sure you cover it until let it adjust, so it's where it's going to go. So
Mm.
and try not to put it up in the springtime, because the spring, then you come into the summer, and then you got all the heat. So the best time the poles is up in the fall, and that's probably why poles were traditionally put up. No, that's not probably why, but it was many of the traditional poles were put up in the fall because of the season. And so, but a lot of our poles we suggest going up in the summer and the fall, because then you're coming into the rainy season,
Mm-hmm.
and that gives it time to adapt to the climate of
Mhm.
being outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you're taking the bark off, that protective layer, and then.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and when you're taking it out, it exposes the grains, and the grains will want to open in certain areas with the.
Mm-hmm. With is there? I mean, you draw. I can see behind Emma in the camera there. There's is that drawings from the stencil work put on the pole?
Those are tracings.
Tracing?
Yeah, so I'll do one side, and then one of the assistants will trace it for me.
Mm-hmm. And that's
Yeah.
after it's been
Yeah.
debarked and.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the beginning of designs, and then as you're working, you got to continuously put lines back on so you know how the sculpture is developing. But when I do start a pole, I do have drawings that I work with. So I work with the where the pole is going to the community, or
Mm-hmm.
I work with them, and they tell me what they want, and then I'll do up some drawings, and then we'll work through those drawings. And sometimes it takes a few weeks, sometimes it takes a few months, but we always end up with what's going to work best for what they want, and what they're thinking of for their pole.
Is that process before?
That's before even the project starts. So once
Yeah.
we get the design, then we just select the log that's going to work for the design. And then sometimes the log isn't good for the design, so I'll have to change the design a bit. But I'll be discussing it with the owners of the pole on how we can change it and adapt it to what they want and how it's going to work with the log. So it's a bit of a process of getting a pole designed and then getting it started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Imagine it's not a hard one for you though. After teaching and
yeah, it's just normal now. It's just
Yeah.
normally something that we
part of the
part of the
process of
yeah.
being an artist.
Yeah.
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 Do you use the same tracing, or do you make a new one once it's has a rough shape?
We got to make a new one.
Okay.
Because of the shape, the log changes, so
Mhm.
you're using different designs.
Mm.
We use the same tracing paper over and over again, but the designs will change.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then, so that's just to rough it out, and then
Mhm.
and then what happens? What's a
After it's in this stage, then we're down to a finishing stage. So Brian and Savannah are doing the finishing process where it's all knife down and we do with a knife work, and then while they're finishing the figures and the backgrounds, I'm working on the heads.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be knife working and finishing up, taking the mouth out, putting the eyes on, cleaning up around it. So and then it all comes together, and then after the finishing's done, and then the painting starts taking place, and that's what Savannah has done for us over the last 2 poles.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, really good painter.
yeah.
Saw some the other day there, and
hmm
yeah.
Yeah.
For the roughing work, what sort of tools do you use to start out with?
I use anything that works. I use chainsaws and grinders and chisels and
Mm-hmm.
adzes and but when it comes down to finishing, we use all our hand tools. So
Mm-hmm.
some of them are traditionally made, some of them are chisels that we buy from the different makes of chisels that are out there,
Mm-hmm.
right from Swiss to Japanese is what I use, German, anything that works, anything that's
Mm-hmm.
because it's all getting down to the traditional finish. So
Yeah, I imagine with with becoming an artist, you also learn how to hold your tools correctly, and also how to sharpen them, and that's a
Yeah.
whole.
oh yeah, that's,
I imagine that takes a while. Hey.
yeah.
And making them.
Some of them you make them.
Yeah.
I've made some of the tools when I was younger. Some of my tools, but I'm not the tool maker that my cousin Ken is, and he can make any type of bent knife or adze.
Oh yeah.
So if I need a knife, I'll get Ken to make it. So I buy a lot of my tools, like gouges and stuff, and then I have a few good traditional tools that I have and take good care of them. They'll last you a lifetime. So
Yeah, that's true. A good peaceful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and over the years I've learned how to use the chainsaws, and I do a lot of the roughing out with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
I can see the shapes and know what I want, and I can bring it out with a chainsaw, and then take it down from there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
my first job with the forestry, or a first job I applied for with the forestry when I was just got out of high school, a summer job, they asked, do you know how to use a chainsaw? I never used a chainsaw in my life. But I said, oh yes, I know how to use a chainsaw.
How did that go?
I phoned up my friend, he was a logger, and said, can you teach me how to use a chainsaw? So he gave me an hour lesson on a chainsaw. And
Oh, that's fun.
next day I was cutting trees down. So
Within one day, you're
Yeah.
up falling.
yeah, so that's I got the experience of learning how to use chainsaws, and then they're dangerous, but you just once you learn what you need to do with them and how to hold them and how to use your body and work with them, then they're okay. So,
Mhm.
so it's very. We teach at the school. We taught that there's a chainsaw course, but we very seldom allow them to do the cutting because it is quite dangerous. So
Mhm. Oh, I mean,
so, yeah,
it is just as dangerous as one of your
Yeah.
chisels or your knives, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah. But
just.
yeah, it takes experience. So by
Mhm.
just using it and understanding what it does and
Mhm.
how it works, and
Yeah. Yeah, watching. I imagine, yeah, because you're probably using the tip of the
yeah, yeah,
tip of the saw a
yeah,
bit, and
oh, yeah. Oh, over the
it can
years,
be, yeah.
I've found good carving tips that work properly, so you can bend. It's the kickback that you're worried about,
Mhm.
or how you're holding the saw. You don't want to
Mhm.
cut yourself.
Yeah. I've got a piece of, looks like it's rough here, and then maybe a
Yeah.
chainsaw or a,
That would be a chainsawed, and then it was cleaned by
yeah,
one of the
knife blade
assistants.
or
Yeah,
some
yeah,
kind of blade.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So then, after it's roughed up, and you go over it a few times.
Yeah, there's like when it's roughed out, then you've
Or
got
roughed out, yeah.
like roughing, shaping, and fine shaping, fine, and then you go to cleaning, and then fine cleaning. So there's a process of coming down on it, and
Mhm.
that doesn't just apply to totem poles. That applies to all carvings.
Mhm.
In any carving that we do,
Mhm.
you have a process of roughing, and then shaping, and then you're getting your final shapes for what your sculpture is going to look like, and then you start finishing, and then you do a fine finish, and then you do a completion finish. So there's a lot of finishing is the most time consuming.
Mm.
Yeah, everybody likes to think of roughing, and that's the fun part of roughing, but finishing is the time consuming, and it takes hours of work, and not just hours. You can't just come in and work 2 hours, and then it takes hours of work. You have to, you have to focus in on what you're doing, and if you don't get that, focus until you're working for a few hours, and then you understand it becomes like in your head what everything you need to do.
Mhm.
So finishing is quite a challenging part of completing your work.
Mhm.
My first experience in finishing was when I was working with my uncle in Prince Rupert. I worked on a little miniature totem pole, and I thought it was complete. I had my own little place I rented that I was working in. So I went over to my uncle to show it to him. I said, "I'm done." He said, "No, you're not." I had another 2 weeks of work of finishing. So then I understood finishing.
Mm.
So that's one of the most important things of being a professional artist is your finish, because if the finish isn't done correctly, a collector or wherever it's going to end up, a lot of them are experienced collectors, and they know what they're looking at. So if you have a proper finish, or if they're not experienced, it's their pleasure of looking at what they're seeing as a finished project is what draws them towards the art. And so
Mhm.
if they understand, they'll see what you've put into it.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
so finishing is a very important part of the art in Northwest Coast art. So,
Mhm. Yeah, it just goes like above and beyond, and well, you want to make sure it's the best.
yes. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you finish and the shape's not there, you got to redo it again.
Mm.
You got to, and that's what my cousin Brian always says. he'll be cleaning, and then I'll come along, look at it. Oh, it's not the right shape. No, take it all out. Hey, I just finished that. but, but yeah, that's how finishing is. But you have to get it to that level to see it. And if you didn't do that, you wouldn't see it. So you're finishing and then refinishing, or reshaping and then finishing again. So all those steps, there's lots of steps involved in seeing the work that you're working on. So
By the end, I imagine, you know, if it's you or a handful of people, like, yeah, you must know every curve, every line.
oh yes, yeah. For me, I'll look at it, and then if I'm not happy, I'll change it. I go through everything. I'll sit down, relax, have some fruit or some water or whatever, and look at the pole. And then when I see something, I'll go there and I'll fix it right away. And the best time to look at it is in the morning, because your mind shuts off, and you're away from it. So when you come back, it's all new again, and then you see something. I'm sure that's how you do it in your work too. And in a new day, you see, oh, that didn't work.
That's
oh, that
true,
works.
yeah.
So it's the same with carving.
Yeah, this morning I was up pretty early. You know, doing the same thing, just different
Just
different avenue.
yeah.
Yeah.
seeing it in a better way. But you can't get there unless you do the work.
Yeah.
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 Gotta sit there and be patient and put that effort in, and
Yeah.
go and do it again if it needs to.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then painting. What sort of paint is typically used?
Well, I just use a acrylic house paint. So exterior acrylic house paint for totem poles. Well, I use it on mostly a lot of stuff, but it's just a durable paint in the weather. So each artist has their own preference of what kind of paints they want to use, but I've gone towards that, because I can buy large amounts of it and get it mixed into what I need it for. So.
And not everyone is painted. Is that correct? Or?
Not everyone. Not every area is painted, but some of the areas are painted, and then just whatever balance you need, because it's not only that you paint it, you still got to balance it. You can't put a whole chunk of red in one area and not balance it with another color. So it's all about balancing what colors you. Sometimes you have to change the colors and go back to a different color, but it's all about. So painting's an art in itself too. So.
Was there traditional paint that was used?
Yeah, there would have been traditional paints. They would have used ochres or clays, and they would mix it with a salmon eggs. So it's the same idea of the old painters in Europe. They used egg, whatever they were mixing with would be an egg base. So we used a salmon egg base, and that helped it stay on the materials. And some of the old paintings are probably better than our paints that we use now, because if you go down to Prince Rupert, there's a rock painting, an old rock painting. It's probably over 150 years old, and it's still there. And the painting's worn a little bit, but imagine it's lasted that long. And we put a house paint on there, it'd probably be gone in a few years off of a rock. So.
Have you done any of your work with traditional paints, or?
I haven't. No. It's there's different people that do, but and they've even workshops, but I haven't had the time to do any traditional work with paints.
Wow. And then there's also you're explaining a different process for each area or family for raising, and we can do a general of.
Yeah, when the pole's completed, it's brought to where it's going to be raised, and then any advice that where the pole's going to be raised, I can help them with how the procedure of how it goes up. But each area will have their own ceremony that whether it's a traditional ceremony or if it's going to be in an area that it's not being sold to a traditional purchaser, then we'll go over it with them, and maybe the nation that it's housed on will come in and can bless it or give some advice to how the procedure of the raising should go. But most First Nations that have worked over the last years with totem poles have their own procedures and whatever protocols they have, we just follow their protocols and give them any advice on how the pole should be handled as it's being raised.
Yeah. Again, I'm looking forward to coming down to Emily Carr there.
Yeah, that's
Pretty excited about that. Yeah. Is it possible to showcase some of your work, like working on this one? Yeah. I think. Yeah. Go handheld a little bit, or we could just cut and reposition or something.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more curious. I'm sorry if it was.
Oh, do you have any questions?
I do.
Yeah.
I'm open to it. You've definitely touched on it a little bit, so stop me if this is a repeated question. But mostly just like the importance of the revival of carving. You and Dempsey talked about how you almost lost it, and I'd love to hear it coming back.
Well, Dempsey was part of the early revival of the art. There was probably a generation before him, but very small generation like Bill Reed and Frida and some of the southern artists. And as Dempsey got into it, he was like a first, second generation, but really he was the first generation of artists that came in and was able to bring it into the mainstream of where the galleries and people started up. Because when I started, like me being a generation after Dempsey, when I started carving and learning, I don't know why I started, because there was nowhere to sell it. There's no galleries, but I was years of working on it. But by after 8 years of just learning it and working on it, there was opportunities. New galleries were opening because the art was becoming popular in the market, and so I was able to hit that, and I was ready because I did all the learning before that, and through that, while all that was happening, the art was coming back into the culture. It started with dancing. Dancing was starting up in different nations, and once the dancing started, the art started coming back. And when the art started coming back, the poles started coming back. So it's a slow build-up but there was a time when we lost many of the artists. That's why it had to be relearned, because a lot of the artists had lost with the discontinuation of being allowed to do the art or even own the art. So when it was just like held on by very few artists, and then the hard work of my uncle's generation in developing and bringing it to the standards of where it was brought to, and then me being second generation, we were able to continue with that revival of the art, and now it's in the last few years I've down most of my totem poles have been for First Nation communities, and it's quite an honor to be part of the revival of seeing it revived in our own nations, and it'll, I think it's just going to continue to grow because once one nation does something, each nation will follow, or each community or nation will follow, and I see that happening and that's the reason behind this pole is it's very traditionally commissioned. It's going to be traditionally raised, and the purchaser is wanting to bring that standard back again. So he's continuing on that revival of the what the totem poles were and what the art meant to us.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. Mhm. And to be part of it is an honor. I can't explain how it is being part of it, but I'm just glad that I have that opportunity.
And how is it seeing like the people that you're mentoring coming up and being a part of it?
Well, I'm obviously pleased that they're here, and eventually I'd like to see the younger ones continue on what we did, continue what we started from Dempsey, and to us, and to them. So it's they have an important role. They've started and they have lots of responsibility. So and that's what it's about is taking that responsibility and continuing it, because myself, I see them going in different directions, but I see them keeping grounded through their culture. So whatever they produce will be traditional in their generation or generations to come, because tradition changes, but if it's kept at a base and works from that base, it can be accepted into our culture, and then it eventually becomes traditional. So that's what the young people are going to be doing. Because I teach them, but I make sure that they learn, they understand the basics and the foundations, and whatever their ideals and whatever they develop in years to come, it comes from a good base. And that's what I've seen at the school. When you see them doing different things, you can't stop them because that's their ideas. So it's always nice to watch, young artists with their new ideas, as long as they're doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you understand the basics, you can do anything because it comes out of the basics. You still see the basics in it, but you see the new innovations of it.
So do you see the art form changing as the generations?
It will, because the new generations live now. Yeah, we try keep traditions, and there is traditions there that still belong to the art, but the art's going to change. And many of the young artists are already changing it in different ways, and as the older artists as they're getting older, that traditions is I can see it slowly changing from what the new artists are doing. So, but I believe that if they've done their homework and done it right, it will continue to be a strong in the culture. So, and that's our hopes. That's our hopes. for our people that we've taught and work with.
That's so exciting to see.
It is. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Those were all the questions I wanted to add. I was just curious about that.
Is there, going back to Emma's first question, is there a difference between starting a project for, say, a collector or
For cultural use.
yeah, is that the correct word?
Yeah.
Yeah. Versus doing something for a community or your own community?
Yeah, there is a difference.
Mm.
Because for your own community, that you can draw from history and stories. When you're doing something for a collector, you cannot tell anybody's story. Maybe you can tell some of your stories, but you draw from basic designs, like they want a wolf, or they want a raven, and then you can draw from some of the common stories. But you don't usually put a story to something that you're selling to a collector.
Mm-hmm.
And when you work for cultural use, everything comes from history, whether it belongs to a family group
Mm-hmm.
or it belongs to common to that community or nation. So you're working with elders, you're working with other artists, you're working with community members to develop something that's going to fit into what they're wanting to say or have. So, and same with collectors. It's just in a different way.
Mhm.
It's just a different way of telling that story and what you're completing for them.
Do you have a preference? Which one you do?
No, I enjoy both.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, definitely I enjoy doing work in cultural, but also like working for collectors too. It's part of the art. Is also working in the commercial world. It's as the art changed traditionally back in the late 1800s. The artists were selling to collectors. Not all of it went to cultural use, though cultural use was beginning to be interrupted by all the events that were going on. But they were beginning to sell to ships and anthropologists and things like that. So it was changing then. And I even think traditional work was sold to different nations too, or traded between different nations. So it's always been to me, it's always been commercially, not commercially, but sold to artists worked all over the place. They didn't just work in their community.
Mm-hmm.
If they were valued artists, other nations would hire them to do work for them. So it's just a continuation of what we've always done. We've always worked and made art for wherever it was wanted or needed.
Mm.
So.
Is a ceremonial piece something? And again, yeah, maybe we could move on from this too. But is a ceremonial piece something you can like a family could commission, or a band could commission,
Oh yes.
or is that
Yeah.
something that needs to be?
No. That they can commission if the story belongs to them, then they can commission a piece from that story.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this pole is. It's a development of their family history. So And I've done that with my own community and developed some poles from our history,
Mm-hmm.
and whether it was more common to our community, and then it was approved by whoever needed to approve it, through whether it was a family group or elders.
Is that something that's happening more and more?
It is.
Or-
Well, for the work that I've been doing, it has been.
Mhm.
So
That must be great to see more of that out there. And
yeah, it's nice to see that, see our culture
Culture.
strengthened.
yeah, thriving again and
Hmm.
coming back strong,
Yes,
and also more
yes,
of it to come in the future.
yes, yeah.
That's really exciting.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Savannah Medeiros. I'm Tsimshian, Niska on my mom's side and Portuguese Finnish on my dad's side. And I entered the first year at the Frida Diesing School last year, this year kind of, and graduated it the first year in June, and will be going back to my second year in the fall. Yeah.
That's wow. How did were you doing art before, or did you have a passion for it? Or
In high school, there's a course that we could take, and our art teacher would bring in local First Nations artists that we'd learn from. And I found out about the Frida Diesing program through one of the teachers they brought in, and I was more interested into going through the path, through the school. Yeah.
what sort of art were you creating in high school?
It was the First Nations Fine Arts program too. Just did some basics with the teachers they brought in, and yeah, just did that for my grade 11 and 12 year, because that's when I found out about it at the school.
And then it's grown into. I mean, the other day we came in to the other workshop, and that panel you had made was like stunning. It's really
Thank you.
really talented hands, and yeah, a lot of effort I'm sure behind that.
Yeah, it took a few. Stan made me study through the books, so then I could figure out how I'd want it, and then he helped me going forward for that design.
And was that completely your design?
Yes, and then for the shapes, because I'm still learning how to put them everywhere, and then so it falls nicely. So then he'd help out with those, and then give suggestions on what I could change to get better with it.
That's so cool. And not only that too. Correct me if I'm wrong, but was it the crest that you had painted?
Yeah, it's my. I'm a Gisbatwada killer whale crest, and so I kind of favorite to draw is a killer whale. So.
That was so cool to see. Yeah. Wow. And will that be part of like a local poll around here, or?
No, not at the moment. Haven't figured out what to do with that design yet, or where to put it yet.
Wow. I'm sure it'll come. Besides painting and drawing, you're also carving as well.
Yeah, just started last year, and then my first project was a little canoe boat, and then we went through the carving with the Frida Diesing School, and we started off with a spoon, and that's all I've done really for carving. And I'm working on a mask right now with Stan. So I'm excited for that.
That's all. I mean, that, I don't know. That seems
Yeah.
that seems
Oh.
like a lot.
Also helping with this pole too, for
Yeah.
the cleaning,
Yeah.
to get some experience with that.
And with the cleaning, what do you feel comfortable walking me through that process of what it is?
Still
it?
learning,
Mhm.
but we just kind of shave off the rough parts on the pole.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I know at the moment.
And that's with what type of tool is that?
The chisels and the bent knives
Mm.
that they made. I don't
Mhm.
have any totem pole tools yet, so hopefully in the future I could get some of those.
Is that something? Is that something you craft yourself, or?
Just the bent knives. There's like 3 of them
Mm-hmm.
that I've made before, but they're just tiny ones at the moment.
Mm.
And then the other ones they buy.
Okay.
Mhm.
Wow. That's That's wild.
I also don't want to chip off too much, or else it'll make a huge rip in the pole, and that's scary.
Mm. I imagine it's like,
So you have to make sure you go with the grain properly
oh yeah, instead of going like
against
this
it.
way, yeah.
Brian teaches me how to read it, because I still don't really know how to read the grain just by looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
So Brian was helping out with that.
Other side of the pole, giving advice.
Yeah.
That must be so handy to have.
Mhm.
Yeah, all this
Yeah, it's nice to have
wealth
so
of
much teachers around me.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, wealth of information of yeah, and also I imagine working with friends and family as well.
Yeah.
You're saying your grandma?
Yep. My grandma helped carve the Kitsumkalum poles that went up in 1987, and those are the first poles to go up, I think, around this area in around or over 100 years. And she got to work with Frida Diesing, who is kind of like the leader of the project.
Mm-hmm.
And I have other aunties who also worked on that pole too. So there's mostly all of my family working on that pole, or both of the poles. And then they got the community of Kitsumkalum to help paint them, because they wanted to bring the culture back into the village.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Was it like it must have been a big event.
Yeah.
It was-
They saw it on YouTube. Someone uploaded it.
oh really?
Yeah. And then they showed that once in Kalum. And they did little interviews with them too. So that was cool to see.
Wow. You must have known a lot of people in the video, hey?
Yeah, a lot of people. And they also raised the poles the traditional way, with the like going up.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Wow. I imagine, yeah. A little ways in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine your work is also going to be
Yeah.
standing in town or somewhere close by.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I got to work on the Kalum pole that hopefully will be going up in the next few years or so. So that's how I got started on the project with Stan.
Mm-hmm.
He asked me to come paint for them for that pole, because they wanted a local artist who went through the school.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got on. to this. Now I'm here.
Is that a motivator for your friends to like, or
I think so, because they also, the Stan, Dempsey, and Ken, they come to the come to the school a lot still, and they continue to teach us even if they're not Stan and Dempsey aren't regular instructors anymore. They still come help out, and we learn a lot every time they come in.
that's awesome. Yeah, I can only imagine, maybe if like you have friends from out of town or family, and then going to where your art is up is like, hey, check this out.
Yeah.
I made this. This, I helped with this. It must be inspiring for them.
Yeah, you get to meet tons of people all over too.
Yeah.
Like, there's a few people that came through our program from around like the other side of Canada, and then they come from Haida too, and then way up north too to learn at our school. So you get to learn about all of their different cultures and their traditions and their art styles, because they're all different depending on the area you live in, but they're also all really similar.
There is a lot of overlap. Hey, even from, like Stan was saying, like from around the world, it's like astonishing how similar it is. Some of the things, not everything, but
Yeah.
yeah.
You get to learn a lot from the students, because a lot of students, some of them have been working on it with their families, and you could tell they're really educated. So it's really nice to learn from them too.
That's awesome. Wow. Do you have anything you want to say to your friends that might be watching? If you share the link with them.
Just always do your best for your work. Then trust yourself and your mentors, and you'll grow a ton too. Yeah.
I have some more questions if you're open to it.
Yep.
I'm curious, of all these different pieces you've worked on, both on your own and with your teachers, what are you most proud of so far?
The Kalum pole, that should be going up, hopefully, because my grandma worked on the Kalum poles, so it was nice to work on a Kalum pole as well.
Yeah, that's really good.
Will it stand right next to hers? Or close?
No, I think should be going up around a boundary, so. But it also will all be on Kalum territory too.
I bet that'd make her so proud.
Yeah, really happy about it.
Yeah.
And where are you excited to go? You have all these different skills. Where do you want to be a carver like Stan one day?
Want to try out a lot more too, but I also really want to go into carving too. Go farther with it.
Wow, super excited to see where your work goes. We were both so impressed with your painting.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Yeah. Got
Thanks.
it. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Savannah.
Bye.
See ya.
Built from solid wood of ancient trees that used to stand right here.
Well, let's start with my name, Brian McKee. Stan's father and my mother are brother and sister, so I've been around Stan his whole life with his carving. And in '94, him and Dempsey and Ken were putting on a course over in their old carving shop behind the radio station there,
Oh yeah.
over on Queensway. So they asked if I wanted to join, so I gave it a shot, see how it went.
Just around the corner.
Just around the bend there. So yeah, that's pretty well when I first started, but I've been doing fine scale modeling, and my favorite hobby is electric train layout. So
Oh,
I'm really good at fine detail. I've been pretty well artist my whole life, pretty much. This is just another form of it. So yeah, that's. So we did 94, and unfortunately I lost my only brother and sibling too in 95, so I kind of fell off it for a while. It was just, my heart and soul were broken.
yeah.
So I just, Stan kept me, trying to keep me busy, but I just went to work and working in mostly bush work, and I realized that this was no fun. All I was doing is chopping down trees. What am I doing that for? But then when I started doing this, was a whole new meaning of trees. You've got a tree laying down and you're raising it back into life. And that's why I really like doing this. I really like doing tonables. It's all in fine detail, which I'm good at.
Yeah, right. Yeah, when we first came in this morning, you were you and Savannah were working away there.
Make it smooth.
So yeah, this part is the rough bit, and then
Yeah.
has this been fine detail a little bit?
This has, yeah,
Yeah,
it's been a bit. I think Kobe did this one. I've been on the other side mostly.
yeah.
We usually pick a side. They do this side, I'll do that side.
Oh yeah.
Well, I was down here. I was working on a big frog most of the month, getting it finished.
For a month, doing
Pretty
doing the
much,
plan?
yeah.
Yeah.
Once all the roughing's done, then that's when I really take over.
Mm.
We do a lot of, like, Stan's basically the brains of the project, and me and Kobe are the brawn, so we do all the hard work.
Is that the finishing of it?
Well, the roughing,
The roughing, yeah.
yeah. Cleaning is the finishing.
Mm-hmm.
Getting it all nice and shiny as we can. Well, Stan does all these parts.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing all the backgrounds and the arms. And get the fingers in there and clean them up. You'll start them and then we'll finish them.
Mm.
That's our major carving part in it.
What's your favorite part?
Pole raising.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the pole raising. It brings the heart strings out just to see her go up. So my first pole raising with Stan was in the canyon, the beaver pole, and that was after, because he asked me to help with the longhouses to get the panels ready so they can be painted. That's what I did. And then after that, it wasn't doing much, and then he had an accident, fell off the beaver pole, so he asked me to help him with it because he couldn't use his arm.
Oh.
So I did a lot of chainsawing and hard work. And then that was my first totem pole with him. So when that went up, it was a bright sunny day. And there was lots of people coming around, and it was dusty, and this big black cloud come over, and it dropped enough rain that kept the dust down,
Oh.
which was good. And then the pole went up, and it went off in the distance, and when the pole went up, it went boom. It just blew big thunders, which is really cool. Then I looked at my mother, and she had tears coming down her eyes. So, oh, what's wrong? What's wrong? She said, it's been 150 years since a pole's been raised here. And the last pole raising was for the Thunder House. So that just brought the heartstrings out. And, whoa, this is mystical.
That's pretty powerful.
So every
yeah.
time a pole goes up, losing my brother was hard. Very hard. And every time a pole goes up, that's why I think of him. So it's healed. Heal from it. I can move on. And this is where I like to go, to the totem poles. Do other artwork when we have time, but lately no time. Finish a pole, start another. These last 2 years now, we've been going straight steady.
Yeah.
So this is number 16 I'm starting now.
Really?
Yeah. That's just because I graduated in 09 and I started doing poles in 07. So I helped him with the beaver pole, then he asked me, well, you want to help more, you got to go to the school. So it was no brainer there. Okay. So I went there, I graduated in 09.
Wow.
So that was where I really got started. So I just enjoy doing these poles.
I bet, yeah.
It's a lot of hard
Just-
work, especially starting and roughing and everything. That's the hard part.
Mm.
Can be a little downer when the log don't cooperate and there's something wrong with it and you have to start over.
Yeah, I forgot about that with Stan. I was going to ask him, but you folks just ran into that problem, hey?
Yeah, this is actually the third time in a row on a
Oh,
pole
no.
that we had to start over. It's usually when we take the back off, it's usually where we find the problems, but the last one we had no clue. No signs that there was a problem in it.
And it was roughed in quite a bit, hey?
Yeah, you wouldn't have survived, it would have rotted away in no time. So we had to start over. And we had a real short time limit on this one. So that was a little downer at first.
Yeah.
But this is turning out good. This wood is nice and dry, so it's easy to clean. It's a little tough. But we're coming along. We're back on schedule again. We should make the deadline once we get it inside the building. This is where we rough everything is out here, and then we move it inside, so we get more hours, especially with this heat.
Oh, okay, yeah. It must be cooler in there, hey?
Yeah, we got fans and air conditioning, and plus we can work at night if we have to. If it gets too hot during the day, heat wave or something, just not work days and do all night. So we don't really need loud chainsaws. Any chainsaw is electric, so it's quieter for the neighbors.
Oh. Yeah, that's smart.
So that works. Because this heat's bad.
Yeah, it's wild. It rolled in
Yeah,
pretty,
it's getting
pretty
warm
fast.
Really do warm.
Yeah. The beaver pole there, is that down?
That's
On-
that's down at the longhouses. Because we did that one, and then we did the large beaver pole, the 30-footer up by the community hall,
Oh, okay.
the band office there,
Okay.
top there. That was our next pole.
Wow.
And we did some more down in the canyon. There's 4 down there, crisp poles down in the canyon. And there are ones around here. What was our last one? I forget the last one. I'm so busy. Just one pole from the other. Which one did we do last time? Which one did we do last time? I'm blank.
Yeah, hoping to see them. Hoping to see the ones that are open to the public down in the canyon there. Yeah.
Yeah, they're supposed to be having something. I guess the riverboat days. They're gonna
Right.
have tours down there. People can go down there. I think it's like $5 to go have a tour or something like that. Be having food, hopefully fish.
It's not enough. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully some fish.
It's nice down there. It's a nice walk. Don't mind the mosquitoes,
Oh,
but they're not too bad in August.
a
Right
small
now.
price to pay.
Yeah, June they're terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a nice walk. Plus they have a little bike thing people can pile on and get rides down there.
I imagine that makes it accessible for some elders too, hey?
Yeah, elders, little kids love it.
Yeah.
That's good down there.
Yeah.
As long as you stay away from the water. Can't swim in that thing.
Is it pretty turbulent?
Yeah, well, it's almost 100 feet deep,
Oh,
and it suck you right under.
the level of
canyon.
water to the bottom or the canyon
The
itself?
canyon itself, yeah. I've seen trees stand straight up and get sucked right under, and that's how powerful it is down there. You need a life jacket, you'll get pulled under. So best to stay out of the water. Good place to be though. You can fish down there. Some people try swimming if they don't go too far. I don't recommend
With caution, yeah.
it. Caution, yeah. Seen some things down there. That river hand was, it sucked that big boat down that one time back in the 1800s. Snapped it into
Oh, yeah?
that steamboat.
A steamboat, yeah,
Yeah,
paddle wheeler,
yeah.
yeah.
That's how strong it is.
That's wild. Yeah, I imagine there's a lot of stories around in this area.
Yeah, there's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Uncle knows them all. He tells them. He's talking to his friend one time and said, yeah, you just look around. Sometimes you find artifacts. And his friend put his hand in a tree and pulled out an artifact. So, oh, really? Yeah, joshing. He said that's what happened. Now I look around, put my hands in things. I ain't found nothing yet.
No.
That's what I do.
Just some angry squirrels.
Yeah.
Wow. 16 poles, eh?
Mm-hmm.
And do you paint as well?
Some.
Yeah.
At first I did some of the painting, yeah. Mostly you get someone else to do it because I'm usually too busy doing other things to paint.
Mm-hmm.
That.
Yeah, I imagine if you have, one project after the next, it's just go, go, go.
Well, lately we have 2 poles going at the same time.
Really?
Yeah, we had the other pole, the Kalum pole going, and this one we're starting it. We had Savannah painting there, so we were taking the back off the other one the first time. So yeah, and then before that we had the Commodity and the college poles going at the same time. We had the Commodity in here and the college in there.
So it's pretty common to have like overlapping projects.
Lately, yeah, last 2 years, yeah. Then last year we had to go to Vancouver to finish the Emily car because Lyle couldn't come over because of the COVID lockdown. So it sat there for a while. So he could come over and finish his part, then we finished ours. So now we're just waiting to go down and raise it.
I imagine that says a lot for the skill that you've made yourself. Being able to have multiple projects at the same time and says a lot to the teachers and to your skills as well.
Well, it's good to have people that want to work.
Yeah.
Some people, they want to do it, but they can't really do it all. It's too much. It's a skill, that's for sure. You gotta know gotta want to be here. Gotta want to show up every day to do the job. Some people just want to do it, but it's hard. Actually, it's kind of pretty hard.
Why is the back taken off a totem pole?
Help it dry slowly. It won't crack too much that way. Usually we take this one we didn't. We don't have to. It's kind of thinner than the first one. Usually we take it out so it'll dry better, depending on how wet it is. This one's pretty dry, so we didn't have to do that.
Okay.
So it's drying nice and slow. It's already partially dried. If it's a wet log, then we'll do that. If it dries slowly so it doesn't dry fast. Dries fast, it's going to crack. Especially in heat like this. You just pop right open. Once it pops right open, it won't close till it's wet again. And that's hard to clean and paint. It's uneven.
Do you ever like spray it down to stop it from drying too fast, or?
Well, we've tried that. We like to put buckets of ice and that underneath it. It's really taut. Like last year when during the heat dome there, we did that. Keep it moist underneath. And it doesn't really dry fast. Because that was really hot.
Yeah, there were some days there it was.
And we had it inside, so we had to keep it as cool as possible.
Does it last longer if it's if you don't take much of the back out? Like
Yeah.
over the years once it's raised?
Once I raise it, I'll take in the rain and the snow, soak up all that, and then summertime it releases it. Just does that over every year. Keeps it from rotting. As long as it don't rot fast. If it's not done right, then it'll rot really fast. That's what happened to the last log. If we had kept going at it, the damage that was inside it would have just lasted not even 30 years.
Yeah, you're saying you could almost put your arm Or you could put your arm around,
Yeah.
up to your shoulder.
Put my hand in there. Whoop.
Yeah.
We have to. Oh. No, we can't use this.
Yeah. No artifacts in there though.
No artifacts in it. Darn. That would have been neat. Well, that was worth it then.
Would you like to go out and start doing your own projects, or you?
I've been asked that a few times, but
Yeah.
me and Stan are a good team.
It's good to have a team, hey?
Yeah. He knows everything about this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still learning a lot. I still got a lot to learn. And I enjoy what I do. 'Cause that's what I'm good at. Cleaning poles.
It shows, yeah.
He does the roughing, I make it look good. And Savannah does all the painting. Makes it look great.
It is, yeah, it is. It does say a lot to have a good team, and also, working with family must be good too.
Yeah, it is. We have our little squabbles again once in a while.
It's important to have that.
Yeah, he's older than me, so I have to put up with it. I just take it out on Kobe. He's younger.
That's why he's wearing headphones, eh?
Yeah, don't have to listen to me.
Yeah. 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 No?
No questions over here.
No questions though. I answered them all, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sitting down with us.
No problem.
Really, yeah. Really, really cool to see everyone working here and learn just a little bit about the process.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big process, start to finish.
It is, yeah.
But it's worth it. Definitely worth it.
Just curious if there's anything else you want to say that we didn't touch on yet.
Can't think of anything right now. No. Pretty well done here.
Yeah.
Time to get to work.
Yeah.
Time's wasted.
Spend enough time talking now.
Dempsey always says that.
Yeah.
Burning daylight. Get
What
to
are you
work.
doing? Come on.
Get to work. You're burning daylight.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in again. Oh, you can run away.
Run away now.
Yeah.
Get back at it.
Catch you next time.
In concrete country, the people run wild, belly of a beast, eyes like a child. The skyline's grinning silhouette, choose as much as it can get. The highway begins its crawl through the maze of urban sprawl, pausing